Hello and welcome to our discussion today. I am Vishal Salsekar, Faculty of International Relations at VisionIAS, and today we are diving into the significant development in international tax and trade relations. Switzerland has recently suspended the Most Favoured Nation MFN clause in its tax treaty with India, citing the issues arising from the Nestle ruling of 2023. This decision has stirred the debate about its implication on the bilateral relations and the multilateral corporations, and also on the international taxation norms. In this video, we will unpack this particular issue in detail, exploring the concept of Most Favoured Nation and Double Taxation Avoidance Agreement DTAA, its benefits, and the potential consequences of Switzerland's decision. So let's get started. First, let's understand what MFN clause is. The MFN clause is a principle used in international trade and taxation agreements. It ensures that a country extends the same favorable treatment to one trading partner as it does to the others. For example, in taxation treaties, this might mean that offering the same lower tax rates or the exemption that are provided in the agreement with other nations. Now, the principle is aimed at creating the level playing field, reducing the discrimination, and also fostering the global trade and investments. Now, closely tied to this particular clause, there is Double Taxation Avoidance Agreement or DTAA. These are the bilateral treaties designed to prevent individuals and the companies from being taxed twice on the same income in two different countries. DTAA provides benefits like it eliminates double taxation by specifying which country has the right to tax certain types of income, encouraging the cross-border trade and investment by reducing the tax liabilities, fostering the economic cooperation between the nations. In the case of India and Switzerland DTAA, it has been instrumental in facilitating the investments and dividend flows between these two nations. Now, talking about the benefits of MFN in taxation, the MFN clause in taxation agreements provides several benefits. The first is the uniformity, as it ensures consistent tax rates across the countries. Second is predictability, as the businesses can make long-term plans knowing that they won't face any kind of discrimination. Third is the fair competition, as it prevents any preferential treatment that could distort the market. Fourth is boost to trade by eliminating the trade barriers, encouraging the economic collaboration. In essence, the MFN clause has been the cornerstone of the equitable international taxation. Now let's address the immediate context of Switzerland's decision. The Nestle ruling by Indian tax authorities centered on whether the dividend paid by the Nestle India to its Swiss parent company were eligible for the reduced 5% tax rate under the MFN clause in the DTAA. Indian authorities argued that the reduced tax rate should not apply as there was no clear reciprocity from the side of Switzerland. This led Switzerland to suspend the MFN clause in its treaty with India with effect from 1st January 2025. With MFN suspension, the Indian investors will now pay a 10% withholding tax on the dividends from the Swiss entities, doubling their financial burdens. This move is likely to reduce the investment incentives, as the higher taxes may deter the Indian businesses from investing in Swiss companies. Now, creating a legal uncertainty, as existing agreements based on MFN benefits could now face the challenges, straining bilateral relations between countries, as the suspension could also impact the ongoing negotiations such as the European Free Trade Association Trade Pact discussions. Highlighting the reciprocity issue, as the Switzerland's decision point to a broader dissatisfaction with what it perceives as the unequal benefits in the bilateral tax agreements. Lastly, the complexity for the businesses, as the companies operating in multiple jurisdictions might face increased compliance cost and also the uncertainty. Now, this suspension also underscores the broader issue associated with the MFN clause, which is unintended consequences like the disputes over the retroactive tax benefits. Now, beyond this specific case, MFN clause in the tax treaties face several other challenges, such as the interpretation issues as different countries interpret MFN provisions differently, which leads to the disputes. Next is unequal reciprocity, as the smaller economies cannot offer reciprocal benefits to the larger ones. Last but not the least is the changing global tax norms, as with the frameworks like BEPS, which is base erosion and profit shifting, gaining prominence, the traditional MFN clause may require further revisions. So what's the way forward in these kind of situations? Firstly, there is an urgent need for the bilateral discussions, as India and Switzerland need to engage in dialogue to address the specific issues that lead to the suspension. Secondly, the clarifications on the MFN as clearer guidelines on the scope and the application of MFN provision can prevent the further disputes like this. The same applies to the India's MFN to other countries also. Third is modernizing the DTAA, as the tax treaties must be updated to reflect the changing economic realities and the global tax norms to keep the treaty relevant. Fourth, the Swiss government's clarification, where the Switzerland has indicated that this suspension will not affect the broader trade agreements like the European Free Trade Association Trade Pact. Such assurances can help mitigating uncertainties that may lie in future. Lastly, adapting the corporate strategies, where the companies affected by these changes must revisit their tax planning and compliance strategies to adapt the new norms. India could explore renegotiating the DTAA to address these concerns, ensuring mutual benefits. Simultaneously, Indian businesses and the investors need to reassess their financial strategies to adapt the new tax regime effectively. While the MFN suspension marks a shift in Switzerland-India tax dynamics, it also presents an opportunity to redefine the bilateral trade engagements in the rapidly evolving global economic landscape. The road ahead will require clarity, collaboration, and adaptability from both the nations. For the UPSC aspirants, the topic is highly relevant in multiple papers. For example, in General Studies Paper 2, International Relations, it relates to the bilateral relation between India and Switzerland and the implication of the international treaties and agreement. In General Studies Paper 3, it is related to economy and it connects to the impact of tax treaties on the foreign investment and trade, along with the changing global tax norms and their implications. For the essay paper also, it can be applied to the discussions on globalization, taxation, and economic cooperation. Finally, for the interview or the personality test, this topic is very important. This topic can provide a basis for the discussion on the international economic relations and their practical implications. Make sure to connect this topic to these dimensions while preparing. So this is it for today's discussion. We'll meet further to discuss such interesting topic on the international relations. Thank you.